Hi all, welcome back to C++ tutorial Untitled Chapter. This session is on the copy constructor in C++ programming language. So what is a copy constructor? Before getting into what a copy constructor is, we have discussed in detail in our previous session what a constructor is. So constructors are special member functions of a class that gets invoked automatically by the compiler the moment you create an object to the class. And constructors' main aim is to initialize the values for the data members. So we have seen the three types of constructors that we have in C++, and we have discussed in detail about the default constructor and parameterized constructor. Also, we have seen that constructors have few characteristics of their own. Like constructors have the same name as that of the class and they do not return any value. So all these characteristics are applicable to our copy constructor also. The copy constructor will also have the same name as that of the class and they are not going to return any value. So what is a copy constructor? Copy constructor is a member function which initializes an object using another object of the same class. You can create a copy of an already existing object by invoking the copy constructor. A copy constructor has the following general function prototype. That is, how you could differentiate a parameterized constructor and a copy constructor is by looking into the argument list. So, a parameterized constructor can take arguments. Same way, a copy constructor will also have an argument. But if you look at the argument of a copy constructor, the argument always has to be a constant reference object. Because we are going to create a new object making use of an existing object. So the argument to a copy constructor must be a constant reference object. So by this you differentiate a copy constructor from a parameterized constructor. So if the argument is a reference object, you can make sure that it's a copy constructor. Let's take an example and understand this in detail. So let's say that I'm going to create a class. Let me call it as Untitled. And my class is going to have the data members, say X and Y, and let them be private. Now I'm going to add the member functions of the class and I'm going to make them as public. So here I'm going to make use of a parameterized constructor first. So let me write a parameterized constructor to my class to initialize the values of X and Y. So how do I create a constructor? It will have the same name as that of the class. So I have two data members here. So I will require two parameters for my parameterized constructor. So then I'll initialize the value of X with A and Y with B. So done with my parameterized constructor. Now let me add a copy constructor to the class. So when I say copy constructor, again this is going to have the same name as that of the class, that's Untitled. Then as shown with the prototype, the argument to this should be a constant reference object. So how do you make an entity constant? Using the keyword const. Now how do we create an object? We'll specify the class name first and then the variable name. So obj is going to be an object of the class Untitled. Now I want to make this as a reference. So how do I make it this as a reference? I'll use the ampersand. So const Untitled obj is a reference object to the class tut fulcrum. Now, what is the aim of a constructor? Let it be any constructor. To initialize or to set the values of the data members of the class. So, I want to initialize the values for x and y. So, I want x to be initialized and y to be initialized. So, how do I do that? What is the parameter that I have here? It's an object. So, if you like, here we had a. X is equal to a. I have written x is equal to a because here an integer entity a was the parameter that I was passing. So I wrote a statement like x is equal to a. But here instead of an integer entity, I am having an object. So if you have an object, how do you access the members of the class? Through the object and the dot operator. So how should I write this? I should say obj dot x. Then here I will have to say obj dot y. So x and y, the data members, are initialized through the copy constructor as well. So let me add one more function here. Let me write a display function to display the values of the data members. So now let's add a main, and within the main we are going to create the object to the class and we are going to instantiate the constructors of the class. So let's first create an object, say tut fulcrum. Then let me call the first object as say t1. So I have a parameterized constructor here. So the moment I create my object, I am going to pass two values so that this is going to invoke the parameterized constructor of the class. So this is familiar to you. So if I say t1 dot display, you'll get the output as x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 2, because this statement t1 tut fulcrum t1 of 1 comma 2 will invoke your parameterized constructor. So a will receive the value 1 and b will receive the value 2. So x is equal to a means it is x is equal to 1, and y is equal to b means y will get initialized with the value that is passed from here, that is 2. So after doing this, if you call the display function, it will print the values of x and y. So it prints x is equal to 1 and then y is equal to 2. So let me just run this and show you the output. So you could see the output here as expected. It is giving us the value of x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 2. Now let's see about the copy constructor. So again, it's creating an object. So you have to specify the class name first. So tut fulcrum t2. This t2 I'm going to create from t1. So how do I say that? Within a small bracket, I'll specify t1. So this statement is going to invoke the copy constructor of my class. So t1 is already existing. t1 we have initialized the values for x and y as 1 and 2. So using that t1, I'm going to create the new object t2. So with respect to t2, if you invoke the display function, you're going to get the same values for x and y as 1 and 2. So I say t2 dot display. This is also going to get us the same values for x and y as t1, because t2 is created from t1 by invoking the copy constructor. Let's run the code and check our output. So the second set of x and y values is with respect to the object t2. So x is equal to 1, y is equal to like the previous values. X is equal to 1, Y is equal to 2, which was done using the object D1. So this is copy constructor, how you create a copy constructor. So we'll see more about copy constructors in the next session. We will see where copy constructor is used, what is the importance of a copy constructor, and what are the types of copy constructor. We have two types, default copy constructor and user defined copy constructor. Where we are going to use this, the application part of this we'll discuss in the next session. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe, and please don't forget to tap the bell icon. You'll get notified whenever we upload a new videos. Thank you.